So hi, good afternoon, Mr. Ja'far. It's a pleasure having you here with us today.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me.
Let's begin and go back like 35 years ago. You start your way in the business world, and as you shared with me in our first conversation, with only $200. So tell us a little bit about your journey and how you came to found the Global Sustainability Network.
Thank you so much. I just want to clarify, I'm not insinuating I'm 35 years old. It's just that I started business 35 years old. So I'm originally from Pakistan. I'm born in a small valley called Quetta in Balochistan, and I grew up between Pakistan, Bangladesh, and UAE during my early days. My father came and worked here in the mid-70s. Moving back to Pakistan at the age of 18, I had an eye accident and I lost an eye in a car accident. And I went into business much earlier than I thought I was planning to, because I started to study and work simultaneously. I just had saved up money of $200 equivalent, so it was rupees. So I started off making the mold for tissue box covers, wall clocks, disposable cups for yogurt and things like these, and then went on. I'd been working with my non-profit and business slowly and gradually, and I always believed that giving is an attitude and not a privilege, because a lot of time we think that we need to reach up to a certain level and then start giving. I think you have a lot of friends and family members. They have a very giving attitude in life. They would get up and give you the shady area to sit in, or they would give you the first choice for something. So I think it's pretty much an attitude which we could sort of nurture from a younger age. So I was involved. I had nothing to give. As you can see, my capital wasn't great. So I had blood like everybody else. I started giving blood, working with the Blood Foundation. I was in air conditioning, so I went and built the cold storages for blood storage and worked with larger non-profits for thalassemia, hemophilia, because we had enough blood to separate the blood platelets. So I worked in both areas all along from the beginning.
So let's talk a little bit about what you do at the Global Sustainability Network today and what goals you're trying to achieve, some of them goals of the UN.
Thank you very much. So I am not too sure, and I would like to have some idea as to, from the audience, how many of us are aware of the Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs. Could I request for a raise of hands, so I have an idea? So I don't
have like maybe 3, 4.
Thank you. I think very few have actually raised their hands. Even if they know about it, they'll have to listen to the whole thing, because I get the sense that we don't know. So every 15 years, United Nations announces goals for humanity beyond every nation's agenda with UN. So what are the United Goals? And MDGs were announced in 2000 as Millennium Development Goals for 193 member nations of UN. In 2015, these goals were renewed for another 15 years, and this time around they were called the SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals. Myself, I had been working for over 12 years on a few things, which included sustainable economic development, or triple bottom line as it's called, as in economic, social, and environmental impact conscious businesses. Job creation, there's an organization called EFE, Education for Employment, which works in many countries, and that is something I would love for you guys to go and look at, started by Ron Bruder. The third thing I started working on 12 years ago was trying to end modern-day slavery and create a platform around the world on defining modern-day slavery and coming up with a strategy on how we work on it. So we worked on a sort of awareness on it. Second, we launched the Global Slavery Index with a friend of mine and partner with Walk Free, Andrew Forrest from Australia. Then we got the first ever fatwa against slavery from Al-Azhar, and we got the endorsement of that from Pope Francis, Archbishop Justin Welby, from Jewish faith leaders, from Hindu faith leaders, from Orthodox, Shia, Sunni, everybody, right? And we had a joint declaration against slavery on 2nd December 2014 at the Vatican. And then it was followed up with United Nations to include ending slavery in SDGs that were to be announced in 2015, September. Now, ironically, 17 goals were announced, and goal number 8 included all 3 things that I was involved with: sustainable economic development, job creation, and ending modern-day slavery. And a few other things, including sustainable tourism and etc., but that's part of the sustainable economic development. So that's what GSN is.
So we're talking here a lot about the new business opportunities between Israel and the UAE. But let's focus on something that you believe leads to good business, and that's building a strong foundation of trust. And in order to do that, let's also not ignore the elephant in the room. How do we build that trust after so many years of conflict in this region?
That's a very good question. I think most of the guests over here and even the hosts over here understand the importance of trust in building a business. So my business over the last 35 years has been to build businesses and exit them. I've been fortunate enough to be involved with building a bank, insurance company, something in real estate, hospitality, private jet aviation, and a few other things. And we've kept on building from scratch. No, we're not private equity, we're not buying and selling, we're actually starting from scratch and building it and exiting. So one thing that I learned is, one thing was common in doing business every single time and in every single country. And I believe this is very important for everything in life. This investment in building trust in a relationship. Trust is the foundation of the building that you're going to build on, that foundation. Unfortunately, we don't invest that much time in building trust. And I'm seeing a lot of my very dear friends, because I sit on a lot of foundations in New York, in Washington, D.C., and other places on the board of these foundations, which has been working on a lot of good for humanity projects, including my friends from Israel. And I know them for years and decades. I feel that right now there's a huge opportunity, but we should also take a deep breath and start learning about each other before we say, okay, what can I trade with you? It's not just a transactional shopkeeper trade. I think there's a potential for a very long-term relationship and a very long-term business opportunity, and I think we need to invest in building trust.
Make friendships before we make money, basically.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So you're originally from Pakistan, as you mentioned, but you chose to live and to do business here in Dubai. You say one of the main reasons for that is the ease of doing business here in the UAE. So Israel has improved a little bit in the past few years and gone up a few places in the OECD rankings, but we still have a long way to go in this area. So what can we maybe learn from the UAE?
So here I can actually give a very unbiased, practical view. I'm not born over here. I'm a reasonably comfortable businessman doing business outside any one jurisdiction, but I choose to do business here for the last 20 years. And not only choose to do business here, I choose to live here. My children grew up over here. They went abroad for graduation. They've come back here and still continuing to do business here and do their future, they believe that of their future over here. It's because this country has given you almost everything you require to set up a good business. First of all, trust and warmth and welcome. I'm not sure how many of you have experienced it yet, but you would find the local community to be extremely welcoming, warm, and trusting. And that's one of the reasons why I've said continue building the trust, because you don't want to hurt people's feeling, because they're starting the first step with trusting you. You will find the warmth. You will find security that I could not find in my own country. The level of security, I've got one of my very old colleagues sitting here who moved to London, and he was complaining about he's missing Dubai and he's back here in Dubai because he says security is not as good anywhere else. Now, that's another thing. Ease of doing business. I have had many friends who come into town 2 days later, they've gone back, they've signed up their own company, they have their own business, they probably even got a real estate sorted out and working on getting their kids in school online. It is very comfortable. It gives you connectivity with the world. It has no income tax, it does not have any personal tax. So with all these things, I think it's very convenient to do business over here.
So let's talk maybe about doing business not only for large corporates or the opportunities that the new agreement brings for the governments and big companies, but the global pandemic that we're experiencing is also strongly affecting the job market. Maybe there's some opportunities for individuals also?
That's really right. You know, big corporates are very smart for a very long time. They know how to do business globally, and legally everything is possible for a very long time, and many structures are possible globally. Now, of course, those things will become faster, easier, and will grow. So that's going to continue to grow. But the real opportunity is with smaller businesses, SMEs, individuals. I think the biggest death count of coronavirus this year was the jobs and not just the human beings. And I think the next few years, one of the challenges we are facing are going to be jobs. People who are independent now because they're looking at doing something. And like you have social media micro-influencers, I think now times are going to come for micro-distributors, people who have their own small area. They'll come up with small affiliate programs. They'll be distributing and selling different things. And I think in that case, I see so many opportunities coming from Israel, from medtech, from products. I mean, just recently, to name a few, I just found a small air purifier which you can have, and it cleans the air 99.7%, and Johns Hopkins is using it. I saw this product, actually a company called Embryonics, which increases the chance of IVF success by 33%, and which is a very important healthcare tourism purpose over here. There are agriculture. I mean, there's some urban agriculture projects that are there. There are water condensation programs that are there. So there's amazing amount of opportunities for small businesses to communicate with each other and find partnerships.
So I know I have many more questions, but unfortunately our time is up. So I want to thank you very much for sharing so many interesting insights with us, and hopefully the foundation of trust you mentioned will be strong and sustainable. So thank you so much for being with me.
Thank you so much for having me, and I wish you all a wonderful stay and a successful trip. Thank you.